So up until last year, I didn't even know this knife existed. And once I began to do some research, I got really intrigued real quick. This is the Ka-Bar John EK45 Model 5 Bowie Commando fighting knife. So we got a really cool, interesting design here. This was picked up by Ka-Bar. Whoa, 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 cut, break, time out. Here's the deal, guys. This knife, I was super excited in the beginning to test out, but once we actually got out and began to use it, we have had 2 failures on 2 separate blades. So this is a very big disappointment. Our very first test was to take the knife and hack away at a branch that was about the size of my wrist. That is a great test for me to just see durability of a knife, because I'm not a soldier, I'm not in a military base, but you know, if this being a military kind of style soldier knife, you know, you're gonna be throwing it possibly, you're gonna be rolling on the ground, you know, you're gonna be possibly digging, trying to take out landmines and dig those up. I mean, you could be doing all kinds of stuff. So to give it some rough and tumble abuse, I like to do some light hacking, even though the knife technically isn't designed for that as like a big chopper. And right out of the gate, the very first one had the guard completely loosen up off the body. So let's go ahead and cut away. I'm just gonna show you live, unedited footage of what happened with that first knife.
Is that the hilt?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, that's why we test them.
Yep.
Here, do that again.
So chop through one little piece there. That guard's rattling all over the place. Not good. We'll see what happens with that. We'll probably be sending that back. That should be able to handle that type of shock. That was not very hard at all. Obviously this knife is not designed for chopping, but it should be able to handle that without that loosening up like crazy. That's bad.
That sucks.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum.
So after we discovered that issue right out of the gate, I was like, man, really disappointed, but maybe that was just a fluke. I sent it back to Ka-Bar. Ka-Bar was generous enough to send us a new one, but in the new one, they wrote me a letter and said, this is technically not covered under warranty, and if this happens again and the guard loosens up, you will not be getting a replacement. So I was really disappointed with that letter and the fact that they are not covering that type of issue under warranty. So I took that second one out on another day and on another trip to see what would happen. And let's go ahead and cut away and see what happened with that blade. Okay, third Ka-Bar EK knife that we're gonna try out. This is about the same diameter, which is about the size of my wrist that we went through that, you know, damaged and loosened up the first one, or the second one, excuse me. So we're gonna see if it'll do it on this one. Nope, I can hear it. Look, hear that? Dang, dude. Bites in real nice. Yeah, this thing is rattling like crazy. It sucks. This could be a really good overall utility knife if it wasn't for that problem. That's a really sucky design. Oh my gosh, that sucks. This thing is rattling all over the place. Brand new, out of the box. That's horrible. My Ka-Bar 1211 doesn't have that issue. I can hack all day. This is a really bad design Ka-Bar. You need to go back to the drawing board and figure out how to make that tight enough so that I can at least do some light hacking without that issue. That sucks. There you go. You can see right there out of the gate. I hadn't even used it yet. I just touched it on that piece of wood and I heard that vibration. I could feel that the guard had loosened up, and then we hacked through that branch, and by the time we were done, it was totally wobbling all over the place. And I believe it's just a horrible representation of not only that original design, but just the quality of the blade. That has to be fixed. And to prove a point, I took out my Ka-Bar 1211 fighting knife and chopped on the exact same branch. Let's see what happened. So just to prove a point, here's my Ka-Bar 1211, and we're gonna have the exact same branch. I'm gonna hack through it, and we're gonna see and make sure that that guard doesn't have an issue, which I do not believe it will, because I've done a lot of work with this knife. Come here. Solid as a rock. No issue whatsoever. way better for a combat fighting knife, in my opinion, than the EK models. So there you have it. The 1211 had 0 issues, and I've used and abused that thing for a long time, and that thing just keeps on ticking. So again, I not only had good success with the 1211, but several other designs that have a separate guard, you know, that's a separate piece put on. I'm thinking like the Tops Desert Nomad. I'm thinking of the SOG Tech Buoy. I'm thinking of the Agency from SOG. Several knives that have not a removable, but you know, a separate attached guard, and they've never loosened up or had any sort of problem. So now not only am I out a knife, which I don't mind because I like testing out blades for you guys to point you in the right direction or to help you stay away from something that's going to fail on you, I cannot recommend this EK knife from Ka-Bar, and I believe they totally need to go back to the drawing board and redesign this knife, because I believe that the rest of the blade, in the sense of like the performance and the design and the handle, was great. I loved how big the handle was, really cool. I really dig it a lot, and in fact, as a design, I like it more than my 1211, but because of the loosening up of the guard, it's a no-no. You know, don't even consider it. So I really hope Ka-Bar goes back to the drawing board, redesigns this thing, and I would love to test out a new redesign in the future. To wrap this up, guys, I will have in the link in the description below not only the Ka-Bar 1211, but some other kind of utility tactical knives that I can recommend to you that we've already tested and seen good results with. And when you guys do use those hyperlinks, if you see a knife that you like that's similar in design, but I believe will serve you much better and not basically fall apart on you, that's always a great way to help support the channel and help us continue to buy gear just like this to test out for you, to point you in the right direction. So I want to thank you so much for coming over here, checking out the channel today. Please subscribe, comment, like, share this video. Love to hear your guys' thoughts. Any questions that you may have, I'll answer in the comments below. And check us out on all the relevant social media as well. That's a great way to see what's up and coming. And finally, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.